Imagine pulling up to a small-town butcher shop in 1905 Louisiana. The air smells like hickory smoke and something faintly sweet you can't place. An old wagon sits out front. A quiet family unloads burlap sacks that leave wet patches on the wooden porch. The butcher smiles, counts out cash, hangs a new sign, "Fresh swamp game. Best we've ever had." By the end of the week, half the town has eaten it. By the end of the month, another family has vanished from the road, and nobody connects the two. Until the day 15 armed men kick down a cabin door and discover the most organized cannibal family in American history. Deep in the Louisiana bayou, 15 miles past, where the maps just give up and turn to gray, the swamp becomes something else. Cypress knees rise like tombstones from black water. Spanish moss hangs like funeral veils. The air is so thick with mosquitoes you can hear it hum. A low, constant hymn of hunger. On one of the only patches of dry ground for miles sat the Browsard claim. 200 acres of nothing and everything they needed. 14 people lived there in 1901. 14 mouths breathing the same wet air, sharing the same blood in ways no Bible ever meant. At the center of it all sat Madame Clemence Browsard, 75 years old, 4'11" in her cracked boots, spine curved like a question mark that would never be answered. She still wore the black mourning dress she put on in 1868 when her husband drowned in the Red River. Never took it off, never washed it. The fabric had turned stiff with decades of smoke and sweat and something darker. When the wind shifted, people a quarter-mile away caught the smell. Wood smoke and old copper. Her son Elst, 42, tall as a cypress, thin as a garfish, moved like he was always listening for footsteps behind him. Hands covered in white scars that never tanned. Voice like gravel soaked in bourbon and regret. Then there was Cordelia, 38, Alced's half-sister, Clemence's daughter by a cousin nobody ever named. Cordelia's eyes were the coldest thing in that swamp. When she looked at the children, they stopped breathing for a second. Just stopped. The rest of the clan filled out the same pattern. Cousins who were also uncles, nieces who were also sisters-in-law, a family tree that looped back on itself so many times it looked like a knot pulled tight. 7 children under 16, who all shared the same flat cheekbones, the same pale hair that never quite looked clean, the same flat black eyes that reflected nothing. Outsiders who accidentally wandered close heard only silence. No laughter, no shouting, just the soft, constant sound of knives on wood, and sometimes, late at night, the low murmur of French too old for anyone alive to understand. Winter 1901 to 1902 was the leanest in 50 years. Deer vanished. Gators went deep. Even the catfish stopped biting. By January, the family was eating boot leather boiled with cypress bark. Clemence gathered them one night around the single oil lamp that lit the main cabin. 14 shadows pressed close. She told them a story they had only heard in whispers before, never the full truth. In 1847, her own grandfather had found a traveler half frozen on the trail. Instead of burying him in the swamp, they had eaten him. One man fed the entire family for a month. They survived the winter. She closed the Bible she had opened just for show, looked around the circle of pale faces, and said 5 words that changed everything. Meat is meat. We're hungry. What nobody realized was that the best-tasting meat in town had just waved at them from the wagon. James Morrison, 34, broad-shouldered, quiet, 2 fingers missing from the Spanish-American War. Sarah Morrison, 31, red hair like fire, laugh that made even the meanest storekeeper soften. Thomas, 8, already wore his father's old campaign hat everywhere. Mary, 6, collected buttons in a coffee tin. Almost 200, everyone with a story only she knew. Little David, 3, still slept with the rag doll Sarah had made from a flour sack. 1 button eye, yarn hair, crooked red smile. They were leaving Shreveport for a sawmill job 90 miles south. Good pay, a company house, a future. Sunday, March 2nd, 1902. They sat in the third pew at Father Horton's church. Sarah sang loud enough for 2 people. After service, Father Horton laid a hand on the rag doll and told Mary, "This little guardian will keep you safe on the road." Monday morning, they loaded the wagon. Cook stove, feather mattress, Sarah's sewing machine, James's war medal in a tin box, Mary's button tin, David's doll tied to the seat so it could see the scenery. They waved goodbye at 7. By Wednesday night, the horses came back alone. The wagon sat 5 miles from the Browsard land. Horses shaking. Inside, everything untouched. Except on the seat, 8 of Mary's buttons had been arranged into a perfect crooked smile. That same Thursday, Eulalie Browsard, 25, eyes like winter ponds, walked into town with 2 burlap sacks. She sold 40 pounds of pale, tender meat for double the usual price. The butcher cooked a steak that night. His wife said it melted in her mouth. The butcher hung the new shipment in his window that Friday. By Monday, half the town had eaten it. 2 weeks later, the LeBlanc family. Same story. Wagon found. People gone. Then the Fontanettes, the Duprees, the Guillerys. Always whole families. Always travelers. Always within 5 miles of the Browsard land. And every Thursday, more meat showed up, perfectly butchered. No bone fragments. No waste. The butcher started calling it his Thursday special. People came from 2 towns over. Every time a family vanished. The Browsard chimneys smoked for exactly 3 days. Exactly 3. Father Gilbert Horton noticed things. 1902. The Browsard children stopped looking starved. 1903. Their clothes were patched with fabric that looked suspiciously like city dresses. 1904. He counted 14 shadows moving behind the cabins at night, and the smell. 3 days of silence after every disappearance, and sweet, thick smoke that drifted for miles. He started a private journal. August 14th, 1904. Another family gone. 3 days later, the wind carried the smell of cooking fat. God forgive me, but I know what they're burning. 10 straight days of summer rain turned the swamp into soup. One trail became a river, and the river started giving things back. Father Horton walked with his rosary, whispering prayers he no longer believed. He found the place where the water had clawed away the bank. Children's shoes, still laced, still small. A woman's Sunday dress shredded like confession paper. Buttons, wedding rings. A pocket watch frozen at 3:17. And teeth. Human teeth by the dozen, washed clean and white, grinning up at him from the mud. He fell to his knees and dug with his bare hands. He found David Morrison's rag doll, the flour sack face soaked dark, the single button eye gone. In its place, someone had sewn a real human tooth. He vomited into the swamp until his ribs ached. Then he filled a leather satchel with the evidence and rode through the storm to Sheriff Landry. That night, alone in the rectory, candle guttering, thunder shaking the windows, he opened his journal for the last time. His hand shook so badly the ink bled. He wrote, "The 15th of August, 1905, I have seen where the missing go. They do not go to God. They do not go to the devil. They go into bellies, into smoke, into the Thursday special that Mrs. Landry served me not 3 weeks ago with a smile. I have seen the pantry of hell, and it is hung with meat that once had names. Take my eyes, Lord. Take my tongue. Take everything but the memory, for someone must remember what names tasted like. If any soul reads this after I am gone, burn these pages, burn my body, and never, never buy the Thursday special. Amen." 3 weeks later, 15 armed men rode out at dawn. The Browsard land was dead quiet. Even the birds wouldn't fly over it. The first thing that hit them was the smell. Sweet, thick, wrong. They kicked in the door of the nearest shed. Inside, a perfect butcher shop from hell. 6 long tables dark with old blood. Meat hooks swinging like wind chimes. Barrels of salt big enough to hide a body. Knives sharpened to razors. One deputy lifted a cloth covering a fresh cut. The shape was too familiar. He vomited on his own boots. Second shed. The smoking room. Rows of pale meat hanging like curtains. Some pieces still had tattoos. Third, the pits. 6 trenches, 20 feet long, filled with bones. Human bones mixed with pig and deer to confuse anyone who looked. Tiny finger bones, skulls with perfect saw lines across the forehead. One deputy opened a smoker, and the face staring back still had eyes. They found Clemence in her rocking chair, knitting something red. Cordelia standing guard. 5 children sitting perfectly still, staring with flat black eyes. Landry asked where the others were. Clemence smiled, the first real smile anyone had ever seen from her, and said, "Some family stays. Some family runs." The swamp decides. 7 browsards had vanished into the reeds before sunrise. She talked for 3 days straight. Not like a prisoner, like a proud businesswoman giving a tour. Teenagers pretended to be lost orphans. Adults offered water, food, directions. One nod from Clemence. Hammers to the skull. Bodies wrapped, loaded, processed the same day. Children cleaned tables. Little Azalee, age 6, sorted the tender from the tough. Clemence's notebooks. 42 entries. Entry number 17. The Morrison family. 3 young ones. Excellent texture. Mother stringy, but good for stew. Father strong. Best smoked. Entry number 29. Found a pregnant woman. Baby was bonus tender. Sold as milk-fed veal. Best Thursday yet. Entry number 38. Family fought back. 1 adult damaged, used for sausage. Children perfect. They labeled the barrels by age. The one marked tender was never empty. The 5 captured children never spoke in the orphanage. Refused vegetables. One boy was caught trying to bite another child's arm to taste. All 5 died before 20. 7 escaped into the swamp. In 1906, a trapper found a fresh camp. Human bones picked clean. A child's dress hanging from a tree like a flag. In 1911, a surveyor vanished near the old property. His compass was found years later, carved into a necklace of finger bones. They hanged Clemence and Cordelia on a cold December morning. Clemence's last words as the trapdoor dropped, "You'll all do the same?" When the hunger comes, the property burned for 5 days. The fire fed on fat soaked into the soil. People say if you go there now, the ground still feels warm, and every Thursday. Some swear they smell hickory smoke on the wind. So next time you ree on a back road and a quiet family offers you fresh wild game from a cooler, keep driving, because some family recipes should stay buried.